All right. So, with the advent of two weapons in a hunt, um, or at least two weapons that you can use on the fly in a hunt, I kind of wanted to sit down and think, how can we strategize with this, right? Like, what are the benefits of being able to swap? So, I think one of the first things to consider when I'm trying to strategize about this is what would the limitations possibly be for this? So, some of the stuff I'm thinking of, I've got my drawing pad here to write down, but meow, it's hard to use with a cat on my lap, so I'm gonna escort them off the counter. Okay, so one of the things that I'm thinking about for a limitation would be a cooldown. So, cool down. I don't use this to write ever. um, Cooldown. So there may be a cooldown between when, like, if you swap your weapon and then swapping back, there could be a delay there. So that's the first limitation that might be implemented, and I think that kind of might be necessary, honestly, for some things. Um, Cooldown. I mean, there could just be an absolute limit to the number of times you can do it. That's probably highly unlikely, but we can say that. So, like, I don't know, charges. So, like, maybe you can do it twice in a hunt. Like I said, probably not going to be that. Um, Another one that I could think of would be, not you can't use the same weapon type, right? So, uh, diff weapon types. So, like, if you have a great sword, you can't swap to a different great sword. It has to be two different weapons. Um, I think that was probably the main limitations that I could think of that would affect how we optimize this. Now, I could come up with other stuff, right? Like maybe you swapped that weapon and you only have it for a limited time. There are an unlimited number of ways you could limit it, but I think these are the reasonable ones that I could see them doing. So, moving on from that, how would we optimize or strategize having that functionality? So I plan to use Sword and Shield going into the next game, and my first thought would be, so let's do a little chart here. So we'll do that. We'll do this. So this is weapon 1, weapon 2. So you would have, so you have a sword and shield, right? But your primary one is going to have, let's say, uh, an elemental bonus. And then your secondary one can be another sword and shield, right? This is if the limitation for different weapons isn't present. This could be a status sword and shield. So what you can do is you have your primary DPS on the elemental sword and shield, and then you bring in a status one to, go in, get a sleep on the monster or get a paralysis, a poison, whatever, and then once you get that status applied, swap over to elemental. Maybe if a monster is kind of weak to a particular status, you know, hit the poison, swap, right? Do damage until they're able to be poisoned again, and you swap back to poison one and swap back. So possible, and that is considering that would be fine with the cooldown, I would think, unless the cooldown's really long, because you're gonna swap long enough to. Come on, girl. My cat. She likes to get on top of the computer and turn that bitch off. So we're gonna prevent that. So if we can't use the same weapon, right, we would just do a weapon that's good at applying the status we're interested in. So, maybe we'd do dual blades or, I don't know, something that has a lot of hits, right? I would probably use dual blades. Now, the other, option, this could be very monster dependent, could be a sword and shield with one element, LE1, and then maybe the monster has a phase change, or the elemental weakness changes based on, breaking apart. You're going to have two elemental typed weapons. Now, again, I don't know why she likes to get up here so much. She got up behind the monitor. Come on, girl. Oh. Meow. Meow, meow. I know. You can get back up there when I'm done recording. Oh. So, if there is a weapon restriction on this, then again, we could just swap this to something that, we kind of like on the side. So, dual blades. Again, this is going to work with your. I think none of these restrictions really affect this too much, right? I don't see that being a problem. The third optimization that I'm thinking of would be taking maybe so this is for me, but this SNS, that can be any weapon, and have this be a sleep one, right? So you sleep the monster, and you swap to a greatsword or some other wake-up weapon, and just have, just raw or element, whatever's going to be the most damage. Plus, obviously this isn't part of the weapon swap, but, bombs. So basically, we're bringing back sleep bombing. So you would have a sleep primary weapon, get the sleep, and then swap to a big wake-up weapon with bombs, and wake that bitch up. So that could be a viable strategy, depending on, numbers and what you want to do. Another strategy would be, I had one in mind. I got the sleep bombing, I got the double elements, the status. I don't know. But of these three, the one that I would probably lean most into, right, would be this one. And then this double element, that would be really monster dependent, right? This has potential, though. The sleeping and wake-up weapon. Is there some other way we could optimize this? Well, I guess one thing I think everyone has kind of thought of would be a sword and shield or any other weapon plus a hunting horn. So you swap to your hunting horn, you buff up, and you swap back. I would think so. The problem with this would be how long it takes to swap to that weapon and then swap back, right? So there could be a cooldown. Like maybe you have 10 seconds before you can swap off of that weapon to your different one. That would mean then you'd have to test the numbers to see if the benefit of getting an attack up from the hunting horn surpasses the time you weren't using your main weapon or even attacking the monster, depending on how you do this. So I really don't think this is going to be a strategy that's used very often. Maybe niche, but I don't think it's going to be something that's everyone's going to have a hunting horn. And this is also with solo hunting in mind. Because, if the status and element stuff, not as important if you have other people in your party. And even with this sleep and greatsword one, you could just do any sword and shield or weapon plus a wake up weapon, because you just let the monster go to sleep and then you wake it up. Trying to think of what other weapons you get pretty good benefit from by swapping, like by having it out that you could carry over into a different weapon. But I think Hunting Horn is the main one. I suppose, you could do a sword and shield plus a light bow gun, right? To bring it a lot of different statuses, right? So you could bring a light bow gun, apply a poison, swap back, apply a paralysis, swap back, whatever. Or just like use this until you've used up your good ammo, then swap to a melee. Oh, one that I actually didn't think of, but remembered would be, so slashing weapon plus a blunt weapon, a hammer, a hayman. So this would allow you to get stuns on the monster and then also cut parts. I don't know how valuable it would be to go for the knockouts, because you really wouldn't have time to swap off of your hammer during the knockout. I mean, you probably have time, but you're not going to get any uptime doing damage during the knockout if you do that. Unless it's something you can just do really fast. But I think you have to get on your mount and things like that. So, probably wouldn't do this. But maybe if it's a monster that has weak points that are particularly hard to open up without a blunt weapon, it's the case. So I think the most likely ones would be these two. So a wake up weapon plus my sword and shield, and then a status plus an element. And then looking at what Capcom might do with restrictions, because we don't know what the restrictions are yet. This might be a sword and shield, or sword and shield and dual blade. And they could also lean into monsters that have a lot of different elemental weaknesses, or blunt versus slashing weaknesses. So if they lean really heavily into that, this could change. But going off of what we know and possible reasonable restrictions, I would say this is what my outlook is. So what do you guys think? What's your loadout going to be looking like? Because for me, this seems pretty likely. If you have any other ideas, definitely let me know. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you when they drop the next trailer, probably. Bye.